Team Penske continues to do Team Penske playoff things, but the big star of the show at New Hampshire was not that. No, it was teammate drama that took over all of the action. And to be a fly on the wall of that team meeting, my goodness, let's talk about it. Hey everyone, it's Taylor Kitchen and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line on the ATYL Media channel, where on the show we talk about NASCAR all the time. And this time we're talking about NASCAR at New Hampshire, and it should be no surprise to you all that when you looked at practice and qualifying results, you knew that a Penske car was probably going to win this race. And the Penske car to win it was the 12 of Ryan Blaney, capturing his first win at New Hampshire, his third win of the season. He finally got to hoist that lobster that he says he's been waiting 30 years to hold in victory lane. So I'm happy for him. Good for Ryan. Now, Team Penske's speed in the playoffs should not be a surprise to anybody. This is where they pick up the pace. This is where we know they excel. They do really well in this playoff format. They know exactly what to do and how to do it to get that championship. So the speed, not surprising to me at all. And for Ryan Blaney, of course, this locks him into the round of 8. So he doesn't even have to worry about getting a good result at Kansas or a good result at the Roval. He's won at the Roval before, yes, in chaotic fashion. But if anything goes awry for that team, he doesn't have to worry. Now, we do know, though, that there is some merit to stacking points, so hopefully they have some good runs through the rest of the round of 12, but they are locked into the round of 8 tracks that are really, really good for Team Penske. So could we see Ryan Blaney get to the championship 4, make another championship run there at Phoenix? I mean, I think it's pretty likely, pretty probable, but I don't know. Penske has really good speed right now. And we saw the same type of speed from Joey Logano, who was the pole sitter for this race, won a stage, and ended up finishing the race P4. And then, of course, for Josh Berry, who finished in that second position. And for Josh Berry, things were not looking good for him for a bit during this race. Quite frankly, things weren't looking good for him at all in the past 3 weeks. Finished in dead last over the course of the playoff run this year. An abysmal few weeks for this 21 team. And it was looking to be the same when SVG just kind of took him out towards the beginning of the race. And I say that it was more so a racing incident where they were both trying to kind of fill the same spot. I feel like Josh Berry kind of got pinched a little bit. Honestly, it was a racing incident, but at that point I was like, man, Josh Berry's going to have another last place finish, or they're just going to finish outside the top 30 for another week in a row. Luckily, that was not the case. They were able to make repairs to the car, work their way from the back of the pack to the front, and actually contend for the win, almost passing Ryan Blaney for the lead with less than 10 to go. It was a bobble out of the car that took him out of contention there with like 5 to go, but it was a very impressive recovery from Josh Berry in that 21 team. This is why you do not give up in a race, because you can always push the limits and get yourself to the result that that team deserves. So great job for that 21 team. In third place is William Byron, and it's here that I want to point out that the 3 remaining playoff contenders from Team Hendrick all finish inside the top 10. This feels rare for me to say at this point, which is kind of confusing because Team Hendrick is a powerhouse team, but they have not had powerhouse speed. But William Byron finishing in 3rd. You have Chase Elliott in 5th, Kyle Larson in 7th, and for Chase Elliott, qualifying's been his Achilles heel. He knows this. He talked about this all weekend long with all the media asking him the same question. He was like, yeah, I know this is the case for us. It's the normal for us. Obviously very disappointed that's the normal for them. He put a lot of that on himself. But a lot of these races is him just trying to play catch up. And this was exactly one of those races where he was trying to fight back from an awful qualifying position. And he did just that. The key for this team is going to be points, because last round of the playoffs, he did not get enough points, and it left them in a very vulnerable stance going into Bristol. And of course, we saw Bristol, his playoff hopes almost slip away. Luckily, he was okay. But that said, I think the focus for this team has now shifted to say, okay, we have to start getting points. So hopefully that's the focus for them going forward. Of course, he's now above the cutoff line going into Kansas, which is good, and we'll look at the points in a second. But overall, decent day for Chase Elliott, all things considered. The rest of your top 10 that I have not mentioned yet, we have Christopher Bell in 6th. And I think the crazy thing here is when I think about New Hampshire Motor Speedway, I think about the Toyotas. And I think that Christopher Bell was the first Toyota in this list inside the top 10 is pretty baffling to me. But we'll also kind of explain why that was the result a little later. So we'll get there in a few minutes. But in 8th, we have Michael McDowell, 9th, Ross Chastain, and 10th, Chase Briscoe. So a top 10 result for 2 out of the 4 Gibbs cars. What happened to Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs? Well, they are the focus of all the drama that took place at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Let's break it down. Fighting for the 11th position in Stage 2, Denny Hamlin was getting pretty fed up with how Ty Gibbs was racing him. He said some explicitives over the radio. I'm going to quote him saying, quote, "Does Ty know we're going for a championship?" He then continued by saying, "Are they afraid to talk to him? Because that's what I feel like. They're scared of him." For Denny Hamlin, so not only frustration with the way his teammate was racing him, but frustration in the way as to maybe how the organization as a whole was handling the situation or not handling the situation. So what did Denny Hamlin do? His frustration boiled over and he ended up spinning Ty Gibbs into the turn 1 wall, which is absolutely not ideal. And as frustrated as Denny Hamlin was, Ty Gibbs was equally as frustrated over the radio. You even saw like on TV that he was like throwing his hands. He was very, very frustrated. And then you heard his radio saying "game on" and you're like, okay, so there is legitimate beef here between Hamlin and Gibbs. So both drivers had plenty to say on the radio in their cars, but when they got out of the cars, lips were sealed. There was not a lot said. Ty Gibbs was giving Kyle Busch circa "I'm just here so I don't get fined" or "this is great, everything's fine" vibes. For Denny Hamlin, he said a little bit more, basically saying, quote, "I certainly did not want to spin out a teammate, if anyone, but I was trying to get space to race and trying to get by the 54. So Denny Hamlin kind of explaining himself here. But I get it. Listen, I totally understand where both drivers are coming from here. Ty Gibbs is fighting for the best position possible because he wants to win a race. He wants to prove himself, right? His other teammates are winning races left and right, and Ty Gibbs has yet to do that yet. He came into the Cup Series with such promise. It hasn't been fulfilled yet. So Ty Gibbs probably feels the pressure, and he's frustrated that he's racing side by side with somebody that he feels he can contend with. For Denny Hamlin, though, I feel the argument's a little bit more prevalent here, where he's fighting for a championship. One bad weekend is the difference between making it to the next round or not, winning a championship or not. Every point, every position matters. So I understand both drivers' sides of things. I also can respect and appreciate the team wanting to handle this internally. Sometimes you'll see teammate drama kind of air itself out in front of the media, in front of the fans, and that's fun for us to watch for sure. But it also has a great impact, not only on the drivers and their pit crews and stuff like that, but the members of a team, the mechanics, the engineers, the PR reps. Like, it has a lasting impact on the vibe of the race shop and things like that. So I can respect their decision to keep it in-house. I think, honestly, that was a pretty great idea, though I do love drama. All that to say, Chris Gabehart talked after the race saying, "We're going to kind of work it out as an organization, come together, be ready to go for Kansas." So there's all of that. Curious your thoughts on the whole situation. Let me know in the comments below. Enough with the drama, though. Let's move on to the rest of your playoff contenders and where they finished this race. We have Austin Cindric in that 17th position, just didn't have speed. Same thing goes for Tyler Reddick in 21st, and Bubba Wallace in 26th. Struggled. 23-11 struggled this race more specifically. And for Tyler Reddick earlier in the race, I remember hearing him talk about how he had concerns with his brakes. From that point on, just was not competitive whatsoever. You go to Bubba Wallace, who honestly surprisingly struggled this race weekend, and then later in the race he made contact with Brad Keselowski fighting for position, and from that point on his already ill-handling car just got worse. Not a day that the team wanted at all, the organization wanted at all, knowing how strong they've been, at least how strong the 23 team has been. They go into a track that they used to be really good at, but they've missed the mark the past few times they've gone to Kansas, so it could be a rough rest of the round of 12, quite honestly, for 23XI Racing. And I say that because the points deficit for both 23XI Racing drivers is a little steep, not impossible, but a little steep after this New Hampshire race. For Bubba Wallace, he's minus 27 below the cutoff line. The last driver under that cutoff line. For Tyler Reddick, he's minus 23. Austin Cindric, minus 19. And Ross Chastain, minus 12. Everyone else is above that cutoff line by 12 or over. Of course, Ryan Blaney locked into the round of 8. Now let's go into a race rating above or below the yellow line. And I gotta say, this race was actually pretty fun. It was decent, honestly. We did see some pretty good passing, and we were able to see quite a few drivers make it from the back of the pack to the front of the pack. Josh Berry, Ryan Blaney at some points, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson were all able to make up ground, and it wasn't just on a restart. And yes, you would see the leader get away by quite a bit, but you also saw moments where, like, again, towards the end of the race, where Josh Berry was hounding Ryan Blaney to try to get the race win. Like, it was pretty impressive seeing great battles between Joey Logano and his teammate Ryan Blaney as well. Like, it was pretty good. I would have to say, like, seeing those battles for the lead when we typically, I feel like, struggle to see that with the Gen 7 car because of aero was very refreshing. So I think that was a huge win. This new tire that was brought to New Hampshire, I think, also aided that, which was great. And I should have mentioned this in the results, but I do have to give a shout out to Shane Van Gisbergen here, who qualified inside the top 10, and everyone was like, oh my god, when Shane figures out these ovals, we're cooked, because he's already got the road courses unlocked, the street courses unlocked. So when he figures out the ovals, we're done. He's winning everything. And not saying we're getting close to that, what I am saying, though, is that he is getting a lot better. Unfortunately, though, issues during this race meant he finished, what position? In the 32nd position, which, of course, is not great, but he was able to qualify inside the top 10. He actually raced quite a bit of this race inside the top 10. So it was very, very impressive. Also got to give a shout out to Carson Hocevar, who did very well towards, I guess, the first half of this race, I should say. And going off that point, I think there was a healthy mix of drivers who kind of were in and outside the top 10 during this race. Some stayed there for quite some time, some might have left, but it was entertaining, quite honestly. And for me to say that about New Hampshire Motor Speedway, honestly, quite shocked, not gonna lie. I'm gonna give this race a 76%, definitely above the line. What did you think about this race? Let me know in the comments below, and of course, for more content from myself and my entire team here at ATYL Media, make sure to follow us over here on YouTube, or go to AboveTheOline.com to follow our socials, and so much more. Thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.